Welcome to the 12th part of Spring Boot Kubernetes tutorial series. So far, we have been working on building the backend API, and we are going to start building the front-end UI application using Next.js. In this video, we are going to look at what is React.js and what is Next.js, and then take a quick look at how to create a React.js application and Next.js application, and do a few small examples to get a feel of how to work with React and Next.js. ReactJS is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces and most commonly used for building single-page applications. Let us take a quick look at what is a single-page application. In a traditional web application, when a browser client sends a request to the server processes the request and then sends back the HTML response, and browser renders the whole content. Here, when user clicks on any link or submit a form, another request goes to the server and server processes the request and then send back the complete page response. So for every page transition, the whole content gets refreshed. But for many of the pages, the header part, left nav, footer part all remains the same, only the content area gets changed. So for single page applications, when an initial request sent to the server, it returns the index.html, which is commonly referred to as the shell page, which also includes the reference to the client JavaScript bundle. So when a request goes to the server, it returns the index.html page with the reference to client bundle, and the rendering happens on the client side. So when user clicks on any link or submits a form, instead of repainting the whole page, a request goes to the server, usually an AJAX request, and the server processes the request and send back the response, only the data, not the whole page content. So usually these days JSON is preferred. So server processes the request and send back the JSON response. And re-rendering of the page happens on the client side using that data. So it is much faster because we are not loading the whole content. We are just refreshing parts of it with the data from the server. So that is how single page applications work. So let's create a simple React.js application and explore a little bit. So here I am at official React.js website, and here if you click on docs, we can go and see create new React app, and here you can see how to create a new React.js application. So earlier we need to install this create React app utility globally and then create the application. But now we have this npx utility in the recent versions of Node.js, so you don't have to pre-install create React app. So directly we can use npx create React app and whatever the application name you want to give. So by default, if you use this command, it's going to create a React.js application using JavaScript. But I would like to create using TypeScript. So we can pass a flag to indicate that I want to create the application using TypeScript. So here you can use this command npx create React app, and the application name is reactjs-demo, and I am saying I want to use TypeScript using this flag template TypeScript. So for the first time, it's gonna take some time to download all those required packages and then create the React.js application. Okay, the application got created. Now we can cd into that directory and start the application. npm start. So by default, it's going to start the application on localhost 3000. So this is the default page. Let us take a look at the code here. Let us explore the generated application. So here we have React.js demo application. Because we have specified we are going to use TypeScript, it automatically added the TypeScript and various type bindings as dependencies. And also if you take a look at the source, instead of .js and .jsx files, it created .ts and .tsx files. So when we look at this default page, it is rendering this the initial index all the process starts with index.tsx, where we are mounting this app component, and inside this app component we have this content where it is rendering this image and then this content. So here if we edit welcome to SivaLabs, it's going to immediately reload, hard reload, and then re-render. We don't have to stop and restart. Okay, cool. So first let us clean up a few things. We don't need most of this content. And in ReactJS application, we use JSX for building the components. So JSX is like a templating engine where you can combine JavaScript and HTML to render the components. So right now, let us say we want to show some user information. We can simply use plain HTML tags like this. We can use a div and a paragraph tag for showing a name, and also email siva@gmail.com. So there is nothing special, it is plain HTML, right? So if we go back, we can see the data is printed over here. Okay, so instead of using this plain HTML tags, we can create our own components. Let us say I'm going to create a user component. So I'm going to create user.tsx file, and here let me copy the whole content here, and instead of app it is user. So always a JSX component should have a single root node. It cannot have multiple root nodes. For example, like this, we cannot have multiple root nodes. So if you need to have multiple root nodes, you anyway have to wrap them inside one single parent, be it a div or whatever the component suits you. Okay, so now with this user component, we can go back to app.tsx file, and instead of printing this user information directly, now we can use user component that we just created. Okay, and here it will render the same information. The thing is, we can use this as if it is kind of a built-in tag. Now we can use multiple times, in which case it's going to print multiple times. But right now we are simply displaying only static information, right? But what we want to do is we want to render user information with the dynamic data, something like this. I want to pass the name, okay, and I want to pass what is the email information, siva@gmail.com. Similarly, we can pass name, so using JSX, we can pass properties. These are called usually props. We can pass to the components, and here we can take it as a component which takes props and then render this component. Okay, it is showing this error as parameter props implicitly has any type. So while using TypeScript, you can define what type of object it is, so that you can have a type safety. So what we can do, we can create an interface, because a common convention is this is user component. We will name it as user props, and it can contain two properties like name and email. Okay, and we can specify this props is of type user props. Okay, and instead of hard coding this name and email value, we can use this notation to render any dynamic data. So props dot email. Okay, so if you go back, we can see data gets rendered with the dynamic data that we are passing. Okay, this way, wherever you want to use this component, you can use this way and pass the values dynamically. And here, one more convention that usually people follow is, instead of having a props and then rendering by looking up the properties, we can use this destructuring, where we are going to bind the values directly to these properties using destructuring. Okay, so that we don't have to reference them via props. So they are all automatically extract those name and email properties from the values passed here. Okay, and automatically bind those values into this, and then we are directly rendering them instead of using props and then looking up props.name, props.email. Okay, so we have seen how to create a new component and how to pass properties to that component and render them. Okay, and in many applications there will be multiple screens that we want to navigate from one page to another page, and ReactJS single page applications, one of the most used library for routing is ReactRouter. So we are going to see how to use ReactRouter version 6 to navigate between pages. Okay, let us read the docs. Here installation, because we are using npm, we can run npm install ReactRouter DOM at 6. So make sure that you are installing version 6, because there is a bit different between version 6 and version 5 and its earlier versions. So here I'm installing ReactRouter DOM version 6. Okay, and let us see how to use this. So if you go to quick start, here you can see after installation we are importing browser router route from ReactRouter DOM, and then we are wrapping all elements inside browser router, and then you can add this route components that says, if this is the path, render this component, if this is the path, render this component, like that. Okay, and also while navigating from one page to another page, instead of using traditional HTML anchor tags, we can use this link component which is provided by ReactRouter DOM. So this way, here we are having two links, which is one for home page and another for about page, right? So let us do one thing. First import this into our app component. Okay, and link also, and let us wrap everything inside browser router. Okay, and add these two links here. After that, we want to have routes defined. So okay, I'm removing this, and we can end it here itself, and another one for about page. Okay, so here I have just created a couple of components. One is for home page. Again, it's a simple component which is simply rendering this home, nothing else. And also there is another about page which is again simply rendering about. And here we are going to import them. Okay, so again let us take another look at it. we are wrapping everything inside browser router, and then we are just displaying a couple of links. One is to home page, another is to about page. Okay, and here we are defining where to render that routing components inside our page. Okay, so here if it matches slash, the current path matches slash, it's going to render home page, which is nothing but this home component. Okay, and if it matches slash about, and it's going to render about component. Okay, so these are the links, and this is where those components based on the route it is going to render component. Okay, now let us npm start, and here we can see there are two links, and by default, because it is matching with slash, it is rendering home page. If you click on about, because it is matching slash about with this navigation element, and it is rendering about page. Okay, so like this. So this is how you can use ReactRouter to navigate between different pages. So essentially we have one single host page. Okay, and we don't have multiple index HTML pages, and whatever the navigation we are performing, it is like this using ReactRouter. We are simply switching the components. We are not entirely navigating to a different pages. We are simply switching the components based on the navigation paths. Okay, so we have just seen how to use React core library to implement components, and then we have seen how to use ReactRouter to navigate between different pages. So in complex applications, we might also need some state management libraries like Redux toolkit or something like that. So on one hand, this is a good thing where you can pick only the necessary libraries that you want for your application, but most likely in a production grade applications, you need some of these most commonly used components, and you need to configure everything by yourself, which is kind of a tedious in my opinion. So that is why some of the frameworks built on top of ReactJS, where they simplified this process. So one of most popular framework built on top of ReactJS is NextJS. So this is kind of a built on top of ReactJS, and then some of these things like it comes up with file system based routing, so that you don't have to define like this what is the path and what is the component that you want to render like that. So it comes up with a file system based routing. We'll explore in the future videos, and also it comes with TypeScript support. And then one of the primary reason that people go for Next.js is server-side rendering. So as I mentioned, this ReactJS is a single page application, which rendering happens mostly on the client side. But if the client side devices are not capable enough, all these features, it's not very it's going to take more time to re-render. And also if you are building some public facing website which requires search engine optimization, it doesn't do really well. So that is the reason why if you are building any public facing applications which requires good search engine optimization support, people go for Next.js, where it did the server-side rendering for the initial page loads, and depending on component and page configurations, it either performs server-side rendering or client-side rendering. Okay, so let us take a look at how to create a Next application, and how to essentially let us do the same thing what we did for ReactJS application using Next.js, and let us see how simple it is. Let us create a simple Next.js application. If you go to nextjs.org, you can go to docs, and here getting started. Here you can see, similar to create React app, there is a create Next app also, And also you can pass ---- typescript or ---- ts to indicate we want to use TypeScript over JavaScript. Okay, let us create a simple Next.js application. Here I am running npx create next app. Next.js-demo is the application name I want to generate, and here I am indicating I want to use TypeScript over JavaScript. Okay, so this is going to generate Next.js application, because in my system I have yarn installed, so it is preferring yarn over npm. Okay. Okay, it is generated the application, and here we can go into Next.js demo, and let us quickly take a look at what is the generated code look like. Okay, here we can see in the package.json we can see Next and React libraries are added, and we have dev script. Okay, and let us start the application. Here, as we are using yarn, we can run yarn dev, which is going to start the application on port 3000. Okay, let us access localhost 3000. Here we can see this default welcome page. So if we come back and see inside the Next.js demo, there is pages folder. Inside that there is index.tsx. So whatever you are seeing, this is nothing but this page. So by default, whatever is there inside the pages, it is considered as a public page. Okay, so let us remove all the content from here and change to welcome to SivaLabs. Okay, so here it is automatically updated. So similar to index page, let us create another about page. So here I am creating about.tsx. Let me copy this. Here it is about page. Okay, so we just created a new tsx file inside this pages directory, and if you go back and try to access /about, you can see about SivaLabs page. Okay, so there is no installation of ReactRouter and then configuration, nothing. We just created a page inside the pages folder, and Next.js is able to figure it out and then automatically expose this as a route. Okay, so this is how simple it is. We don't have to do this lot of plumbing to make this routing work. And there is more support, like if you want to have dynamic support, for example, you may want to see some dynamic based on the URL like bookmark/bookmark ID. So there is support for that as well. Okay, so yeah, I think this is good enough to start with Next.js, and also we are going to use TypeScript for this. So as and when we require based on the use case, we'll explore more and more how to do things with Next.js based on our bookmarker application needs. In this video, we have just created a simple ReactJS application and a Next.js application, and then see how to use them with some few basic examples. So in the next video, we are going to start building actual bookmarker UI using Next.js. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the upcoming videos. Bye bye.